All right, welcome back. Everybody's bright, shiny faces here. Everybody's a second to come in. We're running a little late today, so. All right, so Craig has the latest paper. He's going to be passing it out. Now, please, if you have access to the computer and can read it online, make sure you give it to people who do not have access first, because I only have a few of those, so like 15 of them. So please make sure you give them to those first. If you can't get it online, make sure you take one, please, for this week. All right, and they have ones from he has ones from last week also. So a total of 3. All right, let's pray. We have good stuff to do today. Father, thank you so much for allowing us to do this and giving us the opportunity to learn about you. Father, not only that, the most important thing is that I'm hoping all of this helps people to grow in their faith, knowing that only you could have done any of this stuff. Because we've proven that, I believe. Father, thank you. We commit this to you in Jesus' name. Faith is important. And hopefully last week strengthened your faith, because a lot of people, you hear of evolution, you get scared and everything. Oh, is it right? Is it wrong? Hopefully last week strengthened your faith. Now, and this week, we've got even some more good stuff to go over. But before I do that, I have one public service announcement that Steve came to me last week, and I made a little mistake, because what I did is I kind of grouped all Christian colleges into being bad, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knows that not all Christian colleges are bad, okay? It's okay to send your kids to colleges. Let me just make a recommendation, find out what they teach, because specifically I was using Messiah, and on their website and also on testimonials, they are teaching theistic evolution. So just so you know, that's part of their content. But make sure you look first, because not all Christian colleges are going to be doing that. So anyway, and also when it comes to this paper, this was a tough paper to write, because I had to do a lot of research. And you're going to see, and never seen this in my papers before, I actually have almost 3 pages of references. I refer to everything. So anything you read is going to have a reference involved saying that this is where I got it from. Now, something that's interesting that I learned from the Charismatic Church, which was good. Now, you're like, Charismatic Church? Good. No, of course, there were some good things that come from them. One of the things they said is, hey, don't believe anything I say. Find out for yourself. So, please make sure when I'm saying whatever it is, if you disagree with something, look it up yourself, and then if you find what I'm wrong, please come let me know. I've already been told by a couple people, hey, you weren't right here or here. I go back and I check it. A couple times I say, no, this is it. Other times I'm saying, you are 100% right, and I will change that. The art of a good teacher is that I'm learning also. Nobody is above reproach. And if I have done something that is improper, incorrect, whatever, please make sure you let me know. But before you come and say, hey, I don't like what you do there, please make sure you look it up first, because it just makes it easier, because then we can just compare notes and stuff. So, all right, now, you're going to understand this. Why is there skeletons up there, strange-looking skeletons, and this? You'll find out at the end today. So, last week, we talked about proteins, carbohydrates, fats, DNA, RNA, and none of the above can be found outside of life, meaning that there is no way in the world that life could have just happened on its own, because if you need all of these things and they're only found with life and you don't see the building, it's kind of like if you're building a building, you don't go hunt down for sinks or toilets or air conditioning ducts in the desert or in the forest, because they're not found there. You got to create them. Same with this stuff. You got to life is only created. It just can't come naturally. So DNA and stuff, as we talked about the structure of things, and you people who are building, and you guys who are engineers like Michael and stuff, you guys understand structure. You guys understand building. So That's exactly what this is, and everything in life has to be built. You can't just go stumble across a hemoglobin protein in the Sahara Desert. It's just not found there, unless someone just died. All right. All right, let's talk about the main point today. The illusionary effect, known as an illusion of truth effect, validity effect, whatever. It's the tendency to believe false information to be correct, okay, after repeated exposure. You're told the same thing enough times, you're going to believe it. And we're going to be talking about that. And here, one other quick public service announcement. I am not whatsoever trying to be political or anything. I'm going to be using some recent commercial stuff, but it's just to prove a point. Okay, I'm not trying to be a political thing or whatever. So you'll see in a minute. All right, this bad guy with the Bible, you don't want him. Because if you vote for that man, he's going to take away your birthday. He's going to take away all your benefits, your work, your school, your medical, your kids, your pregnancy. Even if you can't get pregnant, he'll take that away too. He will take away everything you desire and you will become poor. Now, what's even worse is if you vote for this man, you will get, the only job you're going to get is a manure dropper on an Amish farm. That's pretty bad. Bad guy. He will take away your pets and ability to play board games. You don't want this person. Vote for him, for he is an evil man. You can trust us. Because what we say is true always. Now, this guy is the one you want to vote for. He's the great guy. This guy, if you vote for him, he will make you rich. He will give you 2 birthdays. He will make you so you'll never have to work again. He'll make it so he'll protect your rights. And the good news is he'll never get depressed. So the key is, you can vote for this because, you can trust us. For we never lie in commercials. Now, again, I'm not trying to play a political thing here. But what we're going to be talking about today is repeated exposure, saying things over and over, and people believe them after being told enough times about them. That's the idea behind this. The media portrays what it wants you to believe. Everybody looks at this nice little white family there, perfect white picket fence, everything's wonderful in this thing. Yeah, but the truth is, and even today, I've had people recently even tell me, well, back in the 50s, things were just so much better. Not necessarily. They portrayed it as better. Okay? They portrayed it as that. But the problem is, in the 50s, domestic abuse, child molestation was rampant, and nobody did anything about it. I've known people that the sheriff shows up at their house with the dad and the abuser, and the sheriff talks to the family and walks away and says, oh, nothing happened, after the dad abused him. Okay? We know this stuff that happened. All the way 60s, 70s, 80s, Jeff was right. There is a lot of good things about today because this kind of stuff does not happen as much, and if it is, it's being prosecuted easier because that time was very bad. For the most part, there were no laws to protect family members from abuse, but what is portrayed in media is rarely reality. And that's okay. It's television. I'm not trying to beat the media down, but the key is if you're told something and you see something, you see this nice, beautiful family and everything else, but I'm going to tell you, if you were African American in the 1950s, you wouldn't be thinking the same thing. You'll be thinking, why is the Supreme Court still upholding the Jim Crow laws? Which they were. Okay? So, media aim is to control the way you think. Now, here's an image of a black hole that they've actually seen, okay? But this is the artist image. This is the image they're going to show you in the magazine. They don't look the same. But this is what they want you to see because what they want you to do is continue to fund the space, stuff. Now, media and science has inundated us with misinformation. So, for instance, that star way over there, that little star, that's where they found that. Now, that's where the black hole came from. But that's how it looks like if you look at it. But what they did is zoomed it into, looked at that. How do you know what that is? But yet, expectation is that's our neighboring galaxy, Andromeda. But in all reality, When you look at a telescope, that's what the other side is. The reality is what you actually see. So the key is science is not always 100% trustworthy. They want your money too, because they want you to continue to fund them, so they're going to give you these best images. And this is what we're going to be talking about the whole time today. Okay? So beware. If science tells us it's true, it must be true, right? Now, granted, I'm not bashing science. I spent my life in science. It's a good thing. But the problem is that we trust scientists so much now that anything they tell us, we just go right along with it. Yeah, of course, must be true. Now, my paper is specifically on the religion of evolution, about how science, evolution, some government stuff, all got together and now is producing specific things. So please make sure you read this, because this is very important information. What does the average internet person say about this? I went online and grabbed a bunch of stuff on the internet, and I said, okay, let's see what people, just average persons, say about it. Evolution. I believe evolution in the same sense I believe in New York. I've seen bits of it. I have hundreds of thousands of reliable bits of it. He's seen reliable bits from evolution. Interesting. Then the next one, the first one, evolution is an observable fact. We can see it. We can prove it. We know it's true. These are people. This is just right off the people. I just grabbed. I was one of these things. Grab these things. Next, evolution is not a matter of belief. It's an observable fact. They're saying that 100% true, observable, has to be that way. Okay? Next, evolution in the broadest sense explains that is what we see today is different from what existed in the past. How do they know what existed in the past? Were they there? I mean, really, guys, I'm not trying to be mean, but the reality is okay, that sounds good. All right, well, then let's take a look at some of these things. All right, this comes from the Smithsonian, like our major Smithsonian Institute, the Great Science Institute, Natural Museum of History. So this is Australopithecus, whatever. This is Lucy, reconstructed skeleton of Lucy. Okay, this is the skeleton, looks like. Now, in 1974, they found Lucy in Ethiopia. Now, look on this side here is where the artist impression is of Lucy. So this is, they say, what Lucy looks like. Okay? So, and the next thing is directly from the historychannel.com. This comes from This Day in History 3 days ago. I read it because that's where I stumbled across this. And poor Robbie, I had to fix that. I changed all of this at the last moment and sent it to him. Such a great guy. Now, the fossils on the earthly human ancestor are discovered in northeastern Ethiopia, soon nicknamed Lucy. The remains showed that human species were walking upright 3 million years ago. Okay? That's what they're telling you. All right? That's, and by the way, both of these pictures comes from the Smithsonian, which is the premier science in America. But we've got a big, big problem that this premier science... Now, by the way, these are the only two pictures on that. Just so you know, these are the only two pictures from them. You'll understand what I mean in a second. We got a big problem with this. Okay? Do you know what? If you want to find out what they actually found of Lucy, that's what they found. See a problem? Oh, yeah. 3.2 million years. I mean, I can see a sacrum, I can see a humerus, I can see a tib fib, I can see a radius ulna. I can see some bones. I can actually look at the bones and say, oh, that's what they are. Paul's much better at that than I am. But the key is, this is what they actually, but their Lucy is more like Lucy Van Pelt of the Peanuts, who continually pulled the football away from Charlie Brown when he was going to kick it and said, so they say to you, ha, we got you again. It's illusionary. How do they know what she looks like, if it's a she even? We don't even know if it's a she. We don't even know what it is. How are they getting that out of that. But guys, this is the problem. Remember what the guy said. It's observable, right? But wait a minute. Lucy was considered one of the greatest finds of all time. Is that observable? Do we know where it comes from? Do we know when it's 3 million years old? Do we know any of that? No. Reality is not what it seems. New fossil ape found in Turkey challenges understanding of human evolution. Oh, well, wait a minute. First of all, how do we even know what that is? How do we know how old it is? How do we know anything about this? We know nothing. And all of a sudden, it's challenging us, right? See, illusionary effect. You tell someone enough, but again, remember what they said. Observable fact. Observable fact. Things different in the past than it is today. Wait, so basically what these guys are reading is this instead of this, the reality, and this. So this is what they find. This is what archaeology finds, okay? It basically, this right there was the first and 15 years and oldest and its most primitive one ever earthed. Primitive? How do they know? Fossil discovery fills the gap. It fills the gap in human evolution. You know, there's a gap, but for them it is. Fills the gap. But notice, these things are on websites, and these are what people read. So to them, again, it's observable, because that's what they read. Again, the Smithsonian did not show that. They showed that. Yes, sir?
Well, you can see from the image on the right just how much they had to speculate as to the rest of the skeleton.
Exactly.
The white parts were the one that they found, and then they just put the rest of it together.
Right. But they don't...
Solving a puzzle without pieces missing.
No, but it said reconstructed skeleton, but that's all it tells you is reconstructed. Okay. According to the website, these skeletons teach us about evolution. These different guys. Okay. How do scientists know this is an early human when most of the bones are missing? And by the way, have they ever seen what an early human looks like? Absolutely not. Nobody has ever, did I say ever seen an early human. There's no pictures, there's no writings, there is nothing. But you were told from the time you were knee-high to a grasshopper till the time you were young and wonderful that this is true. Now, here's the problem. How do they know what early humans look like when they never seen anyone who lived 3 million years ago? It's like this. It's like saying Homer is the spitting image of that alien. Looks just like him, doesn't he? But there's a problem. I've never seen an alien, and Homer doesn't exist. Guys, you laugh, but the reality is that's exactly what they're doing. Early human. You never seen an early human. This is the thing. How do you know if this even existed? How do you know what this is? How do you know when it died? How do you know anything about it? So, I know I'm joking a lot about this, but the reality is true. It really does say there is a big problem here. Let's take a trip to my friend Judge Middleton's courtroom. All right, so Judge Middleton's going to ask them questions. He's going to say, have you ever seen an evolutionary creature? No. You haven't? Okay. Well, next question. How do you know that what those skeletons are? Well, they look like an evolutionary human. They do. How do you know if you've never seen an evolutionary human? Because evolution is true, so they had to have looked that way. Now, this is my own rendition, okay? Don't look deeper into this and that, but that's the idea. Do you have all the bones? No, just fragments. So the judge would say, you expect me to believe that you have never seen an evolutionary human, and you are missing most of its bones, yes, because evolution is true. See, the problem is they're constantly telling you true, 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 true. And you look and you see all this stuff, and I'm sure most of you guys have never seen what the real Lucy. You probably have heard of Lucy. Many of you probably have. All right, so a website called All of These Guys' Evolutionary Skulls. Okay? Well, so let's take a look at a few of these things. Let's see. All right, so let's take a look at this. Notice how the jaw is forward here. Notice how the head is long forward head here. Okay? Keep these in mind. I do this with my students when we go over white cells. So keep these in mind, because we're going to look at all this. So we see that this is kind of a large protruding forehead. This is another protruding forehead. This is a very large skull. Okay, very, very well developed skull. Okay. So I want you to think that all of these different guys, I see how different they are. So now, hold your horses. Now, I want to apologize. There's a couple pictures that are a little tough to look at. It's not rated R, but please understand there's a reason for it. Inbreeding and genetic defects. Inbreeding is the process of offspring from the mating and breeding of individuals, organisms that are closely related genetically. Years ago, Chuck Missler said, how do you know what they are? They could be anything from people inbreeding or having defects. Good point. Several states in the United States prohibit cousin marriages. Because when you inbreed, you are now mixing DNA, and unlike what, now remember, if you read my first paper, theory versus fact or law, I go into great detail on what is a law, how we have to prove something. Okay? One of the things, a problem with evolution is this basic issue with genetic. Things always go downhill. They don't ever go up. You're never going to get better. Things always get worse. And that's what we see. That's why you can't marry your cousin or your sister. Okay, no offense, I wouldn't want to marry my sister. I like my sister, but whatever. So, some of the things inbreeding does. How many generations does it take before offspring, starts affecting the humans? Well, anywhere from 1 to 100. Now look at these guys. Look at their chins. Very long, protruding chins. Down this way. So you have an oval face, long, protruding skin. Now, does it look similar to one of those skulls we looked at? All right. Look at these. Look at this lady in the middle up there. Long, forward skull. Okay? Doesn't it kind of look like that one? Now, granted, these are real pictures, and these are from today. Not today, but, around. So, see this one right here? The chin? Okay? Look at his skull. Look at the guy over here. The guy on there looks like Frankenstein. Look at how big his skull is. Does that look similar to some of those pictures you saw? Studies have confirmed an increase in several genetic disorders due to inbreeding. Look at how misshaped those skulls are. Human defects like these, are they what they found? Could be. They could not be apes whatsoever. They could just be people with inbreeding. And think about it back in the day. Yes, sir?
Well, if you look back further in history, there were isolated groups of people.
I was just about to say that. Thank you.
Access to resources,
Yep.
nutrition, and everything else. And if you go to third world nations, you run into the same things.
Yes.
You find people, there's even a group of people called the Oscar people, whose feet are all deformed because of inbreeding.
And that's exactly right, because we don't know if they have, just a second, Jackie, we don't know if they have nutritional defects, which we're going to talk about that in just a minute. We don't know if they have genetic defects. One of the problems, if you're not eating real good, you're going to be small in stature. Now, by the way, Lucy is only about this big. But one of the things we find that when we look at skeletons from people about 1,000 years ago, they were much shorter than they are today because they just didn't have as good of, they didn't eat as well as we do. So they were always shorter. Yes, Jackie?
Well, and I know that we're talking about science and not specifically the Bible, but God talks all throughout the Bible about why not to marry this particular person.
Very much so.
Why not to sleep with
Yes.
your sister. Why not to
Yes.
because it's one, unlawful, two, unsafe, unhealthy. God is very specific about this.
Yes, he is.
Because he knows better.
Yes. Next year, I'm going to be teaching on the Pentateuch, on the first 5 books, and we're going to deal with that issue. We're going to deal with that issue in the first 5 books. Yes, because the thing is, God knew exactly what he's doing. This is what happens. Skull thickening disease. Remember I said some of these skulls look real thick and look forward? Well, we have a disease called skull thickening disease. Look at how deformed the skulls in these people are. Okay? Now remember these one form, they were really, really large heads. The very last one. Look at the Mayan tombs. This we know for a fact is only 1,000 years old. But those come from Mayan tombs. They were a group of people who probably inbred and they had very large heads. Okay? Genetic defect in a baby. Again, here's the problem. I'm not here to just put bad pictures up here, but the problem is when you are looking at this and they're saying, that's what this is, you have to stop and say, wait a minute. You know, that could be this, that. All right. Okay, craniosinostenosis. Look at this. I mean, these are people with deformed skulls. Now, some of these are genetic defects, but the key is, yes, sir.
Well, when you look at the first series of skulls, they're denying like basic observation because what they're almost implying is that every single person that was an ancient whatever person looked identical and their skulls were all the exact same shape.
Yes.
What we observe today,
Oh, well done.
great variation
Well
in
done.
the shapes of their skulls. So it's denying other basic observable things today that you expect them all to be the same and that this is a sign of evolution, but they're not all the same. They never
Right.
were.
They never were. And you're right. And so make sure in the papers I wrote, I speak specifically about that everything in science is observable. Now, I'm going to tell you, evolution, if you read my first paper, you should come out after that going, well, that ain't science. What evolution isn't science. Because you can't prove it. You don't know you weren't there when it happened. You can't look at all. There's observable things, but they're denying it. All right. So let's take a look at let's go back to some of the artist pictures that we see now. The History Channel is great for this. Life Magazine, all these other magazines are great by throwing this in here. You got these artist renditions. So look at the top guys in here. These are artist renditions of this. Now, the problem is, I believe that the artists had some people they actually looked at. Okay? The Aborigines. Now, this is what they look. That's fine. Praise be to God. I don't think these people would like being told that you look like early humans, because that's exactly what the science is saying. Well, that's what they looked like. Wait a minute. That's from today. That's these days. Yes, sir.
It also, evolution is also then used by some groups to say we're more evolved than you are.
Oh, yeah, don't worry. Don't worry. That's in here. Yep. Yes, so Darwinian evolution, yes. And so, yeah, I deal with that very specifically. So now, let's talk about the next thing. Let's look at these curved bones. Okay, so now we've got, those are femurs right there. We look at that. We look here, and these are tibias and fibulas. Fibulas back down there. Now, look at this skeleton on this side over here. He's got these curved legs, right? Okay, so they're saying, well, that's what they looked like back then. Well, wait a minute. The problem is, when you have rickets, causing osteomalacia, softening of the bones, that's one of the problems you get. So if these kids died, would an evolutionist go dig them up and say, hey, there it is, evolution, 2 million years old? Again, observable today. Today observable. Well, so should we trust them what they say? Now, rickets is due to osteomalacia, of course. But remember, look at some of these guys. Now, again, I don't believe that any of these guys here are actual. I think they just made them up. But notice how they all have these curved legs, just like this. Okay? So, here's the problem. From the time you are born into the time you die, all you are told, all you're told is that evolution is true. Think about it. Have you ever been to a school when they said anything but evolution is true? Now, granted, again, make sure, not all Christian colleges teach this, because I have seen that. Starting grade school, throughout your education, you're told evolution is true. I remember very specifically which teachers told me that. When you watch TV, it's assumed that evolution is true. When you talk to your doctors, I've talked to my doctor. Doctors say, well, it's an evolutionary thing. Books, magazines, periodicals, and news state evolution is true. So, all of it must be true, correct? Got to be, because that's what they're telling us. You've been told all your life. So you're going back to those one guys again. All four of them said it's observable. Well, we've seen the observations, and we're like, that's not observable. Junk science is what this really is. Untested, unproven, presented as scientific facts. When was the last time you heard that evolution was a theory? They may say it, but how do they present it? Do they not present it as facts? You watch History Channel, do they not say, well, in 59 billion years ago when you were born here, this was happening, this was happening. It's presented as if it's true. It's not presented said, scientists think. Now, here's the thing, and one of the reasons why I know they do that is because if you're told all the time that we're not quite sure about this, we're trying to figure it out, would people care anymore? Like, okay, well, once you get it figured out, let me know. Go ahead.
Well, in the Old Testament, when Elijah had dug the hole, and he said, you know what, call on your gods. Let's see whose God wins. And he literally kind of proved to them. And they cut themselves and chanted and did all kinds of weird things. And for days and days and days and days. And he kept saying, where are your gods? He talked to them the whole time. Where are your gods? Where's your proof that these gods are even there? And they never could do it. And then all Elijah did was, and then
Jackie, we're moding right now because, as I say right here, look down. It is just like polytheism in the Bible, like just Jackie says. Good job. The nations would, now this is true, the nations will create an image. They will dress the image. Seriously, this is, and we're going to go over this when we get to the Pentateuch. They will dress the image. They will cook daily for their image. Seriously, they do. They will provide entertainment for the image on a daily basis. Now, I didn't put in here, but this is one of the things that they always did. One of the reasons why God says never do spells, never do witchcraft, because what the people would do with these images is use incantations and spells to try to manipulate them into favorable. They would do it all the time. But here's the problem. All the while having no proof that the deity ever existed. So evolution's doing the exact same thing polytheism did. Polytheism said, well, there's got to be a God out there, so let's create one to make it look this way. We're going to dress the God. We're going to pray to the God. We're going to feed the God. We're going to make him happy. We're going to take him into battle with this. We're going to do all these things. And interestingly enough, when they used to take the gods, if a country will go in and fight against you and they took your gods, it was well known that the people just gave up. Well, the God's not with us no more. But the reality is that There is no proof. Why do you think in the Exodus God made such a point to say, I want you to bring everybody around and I'm going to speak to them? Why do you think God made such a big effort to prove to them? Because of this. But evolution, there is absolutely zero proof. But the good news is, God is going to win. Okay? Now, God has really been dealing with me to look differently on evolutionists and stuff, instead of being angry, oh, you evil people, but to realize that they need Jesus also. When God reveals himself to them, that they will be able to understand and look to him and say, you're the creator. That's a big difference. In Revelation it says, there will be no more night. They will not need the light or the lamp of the light of the sun. For the Lord God will give them light, and they will reign forever and ever. One of the things I put in this paper was the fact that in history, for the longest time, Christianity and science got along. There was never a problem with Christianity and science. Only recently has there been a big problem with it. Yes, sir?
Just thinking that's what's happened with science, is it's become history, as you say. I like to call it political science fiction, because it has an end game in sight,
Yep.
which is ultimately to get God out of the picture.
That's what, I talk about that. That's exactly right. Yes, sir?
If you look back at the history of science, what you used to see with science is you had people who were either wealthy or they were funded by somebody wealthy, that they didn't have to get funds from a million people to make a million people happy.
Right.
And they did their studies
Oh,
to investigate
yes.
the truth. And what happened over time is it came to a point where now you have to get funding from popular culture.
Oh,
And
yes.
so now you do stuff.
You're a smart man.
These people.
Very smart. You're very smart, and you're right. See, that's what I was showing, because one of the things, and I didn't put it in this paper, but I have on another paper about, one of the things I was saying is, in space, in the last month, I get space.com every single day, and I read them, and one of the things you find is that in space, NASA and all the other guys, the ESO, JAX, and all these Chinese and all the other space agencies, almost every day they put something in there about how they think they found life somewhere else. We think we found water. We think we found, this. We think we found, but the reality is never ever do they ever say that we know we have. The reason, and you're hitting it right on the dot, because I think I put it in here that $55 million, or no, I think $55 million a year is spent on the space program. And so they're going to show you these wonderful pictures and everything else because they want you to continue to fund them. So there is, when I always told my students that if you see dollar signs at the end of anything, if they're telling you something and that they're selling, I said, be careful. You don't know what they're doing. So, what I love is the apology from the side. I love reading this apology. This is great. Actually, it's quite long, but I just took this out of it. So he is actually sending a note to Caesars to say, stop persecuting Christians. And he said, this is our God, he said. This is Jesus. Adversaries, he has none. God does not have an adversary. Why? For there exists none stronger than he. Wow. God's not worried. Why would he worry? Because there's no one stronger than he is. Wrath and indignation he doesn't possess. For there is nothing that's able to stand against him. He's not mad at people. Because what can they do? They can't do nothing. Ignorance and forgetfulness are not in his nature. For he is altogether wisdom and understanding. And in him stands fast all that exists. Everybody exists in this world because God has given them the ability. Okay? And remember, God is going to win in the end. He is going to win. Any questions?
Amen. Preach, brother.
So, all right. Well, Has anybody liked the papers I've been, hopefully you're reading them all. Oh, good, got a few people, thank you. Good, hope you guys read them all. Phil actually was one of the people who caught me off guard and gave me some good. Phil is a smart man, let me tell you. He's the man. So, all right. Any questions, anything else? All right, guys, thanks.